what if the most honest moment in a performance is the one no one is supposed to see? Not the stage, not the applause, not the illusion, but the quiet space behind it, where everything slows down and the performance quietly fades away. This painting does not show us the show. It shows us what happens after it. And once you begin to notice it, you start to realize this might be the most real part of all. At first glance, this painting feels full of activity and life. There are multiple figures gathered within a confined space, each one engaged in their own small moment. Children sit near a low fire, reaching toward its warmth, while pieces of clothing hang loosely above them, creating a sense of enclosure that makes the space feel both crowded and intimate at the same time. In the background, just beyond an opening, we can see a group of people watching something with curiosity and attention. Their faces are turned outward, focused on something we cannot fully see from this angle. For a brief moment, the scene feels warm, almost comforting. But if we slow down and observe more carefully, the first impression begins to shift. Because this is not the performance itself. This is something quieter, something hidden, something that exists just beyond the attention of the audience. The painting is quietly divided into two different worlds. On one side, through a simple opening, we see the audience. Their faces are bright, engaged, and filled with curiosity. Children lean forward, trying to catch a better view, while others stand behind them, drawn into whatever is happening beyond the frame. There is energy in that space. Movement, attention, expectation, but we are not placed there. Instead, we stand behind the curtain, inside a more private environment where that energy has already faded. From this position, everything feels slower, heavier, and more grounded. This contrast is subtle, but extremely important, because what they experience is illusion, and what we are allowed to see is reality. At the center of this hidden space sits a performer, a clown. His costume is still bright, carrying the identity of someone who is meant to entertain. His face is painted, fixed in a role that belongs to the stage. But in this moment, he is completely still. There is no exaggerated expression, no movement designed to attract attention. Instead, he holds a child gently, with a calm and almost quiet presence. The difference is striking. The costume suggests energy, humor, and performance. But the person wearing it feels tired, withdrawn, and deeply human. It is in this contrast that the painting reveals something powerful. The role is still visible, but the person behind it has quietly taken over. Everything surrounding the central figure reinforces this feeling. Children sit near the fire, not as part of an act, but simply to keep warm. Objects are scattered across the ground without any clear arrangement, and the hanging clothes above suggest routine rather than decoration. Nothing here feels prepared. Nothing feels staged. This is not a space created for an audience. It is a place where life continues naturally, without any need to impress or perform. People rest here. They wait here. They exist here, without being watched. And that changes the entire atmosphere of the scene. Even though the figures are physically close to one another, there is a noticeable emotional distance between them. There is no visible conversation, no shared focus, no clear interaction that connects them as a group. Each person seems absorbed in their own thoughts, their own small world, creating a sense of isolation within the crowd. This quiet separation adds weight to the scene, because it reminds us that being near others does not always mean being connected to them. Inside this space, everything feels slower, more introspective, more distant. If we begin to pay attention to the objects scattered throughout the scene, they start to reveal another layer of meaning. A drum lies unused, suggesting a performance that has either ended or has yet to begin. Clothing hangs loosely above, not as decoration, but as part of everyday routine. Simple tools and items rest on the ground, practical and worn from repeated use. These details may seem small, but they quietly tell a story. A story of movement, of repetition, of a life that is not fixed in one place. Nothing here feels permanent. Everything feels temporary and constantly in transition. What makes this scene particularly interesting is that it captures a moment in between. It is not the performance itself. It is not preparation either. It is something quieter, a pause between actions. A moment where nothing specific is happening, yet everything feels present. These in-between moments are often overlooked, but they reveal something deeper. Because here, people are not playing roles. They are not trying to be seen. They are simply existing as they are. Ludwig Knaus had a unique way of observing the world around him. Instead of focusing on dramatic events or important figures, he chose to paint ordinary people in everyday situations. His work belongs to a tradition that values realism and attention to detail, not in a decorative sense, but in an observational one. He watched carefully. He noticed small gestures. He paid attention to moments that most people would ignore. And through that careful observation, he was able to capture something deeper than the surface of a scene. In this painting, we can clearly see that approach. Nothing feels exaggerated. Everything feels noticed. There is a quiet simplicity in this painting that makes it surprisingly powerful. There are no dramatic effects, no strong visual tricks, no obvious narrative guiding us. And yet, it holds our attention because it feels honest. Knaus does not try to force meaning onto the viewer. Instead, he allows the scene to exist naturally, inviting us to observe and interpret it in our own way. This simplicity becomes its strength. At this point, we begin to understand what we are looking at. A group of performers in a private moment, a space hidden behind the stage, a pause between performances. But this is only the surface, because beneath this quiet, observational scene, there are deeper ideas waiting to be explored. Ideas about identity, about performance, and about the distance between what we show to others and who we really are. Once we move beyond what we see on the surface, the painting begins to change. It is no longer just a scene of performers resting between acts. It becomes something more reflective, more psychological. The focus shifts from the environment to the idea behind it, because this is not only about place. It is about a condition, a way of existing between two identities, what we show to the world and what remains hidden behind it. And in that sense, this painting becomes less about them and more about us. Ludwig Knaus lived and worked during the 19th century, a time when European society was going through significant change. Industrialization was transforming cities, and everyday life itself was beginning to shift in new and unfamiliar ways. While many artists of his time focused on history, mythology, or idealized subjects, Knaus chose a different direction. He turned his attention toward ordinary people, workers, families, travelers, performers. He believed that real life, in its simplest form, carried its own depth and meaning, and rather than exaggerating emotion, he allowed it to exist quietly within the scene. That is what makes his work feel so natural and so honest. One of the most powerful ideas in this painting is the difference between identity and role. The clown, at the center, represents this perfectly. His appearance belongs to the stage, but his posture, his stillness, his silence belongs to something else, something more personal, more real. And this raises an important question. How much of what we see in others is real, and how much of it is simply a role being played. The presence of children adds another layer to the scene. They are not just observing this life, they are part of it. They grow up in this environment, surrounded by movement, instability, and performance. For them, there is no clear separation between work and life, between stage and home. This is their normal, and that makes the painting feel even more grounded in reality, because it shows not just a moment, but a way of living. At a deeper level, this painting reflects something universal, not just about performers, but about people in general. We all have roles. We all present a version of ourselves to the world, in public, in front of others. But behind that, there is another layer, quieter, more personal, more real. And just like in this painting, most people never see it. In the end, behind the scenes is not simply about a group of performers resting. It is about the space between what is shown and what is hidden. It is about the quiet moments that exist beyond attention. The moments where roles fall away and people return to themselves. And as we stand here, looking into this private world, we are given something rare, a chance to see beyond the surface, to notice what is usually overlooked, and to understand something simple yet profound. What we see is never the full story. Thank you for watching.